Good afternoon. In this video, which is video 2 of the mower cell setup, we're going to actually set up the mower cell according to the PDF that you saw in video 1. So if you have not downloaded the files yet or the PDF yet, please do so, and we're going to walk through how to do that. But first I'm going to set up the cell, so I'm going to go to New Cell, and we're going to use Handling Pro, and let's call what it is. So I called it Cell Creation Mower Deck. Pick your version that you want to work with. We're not going to work with any end of arm tooling, so set end of arm toolings later. Hit next. Hit next on the servos. And next again. All the way to the finish and run through. Allow the teach pendant to initialize. When it gets to the flange selection, we're just going to do 1. And allow the cell to set up. Alright, so in the link below, there's a link to the Google Drive. If you have not done so already, make sure you download all the CAD files, including the PDF that walks you through everything that we do in this video. So the link will take you to the CAD folder, and just hold Shift on all of them, just right click, and then download. It will zip everything, and we want to make sure that all these files are going to be in the robot cells folder. So while this is zipping and downloading, I'm going to pause, and then I'll show you how to put it into the folder. Once you have the cell downloaded, just unzip the folder, and then find the folder under your work cells of the actual name. So I named mine Cell Creation Mower Deck, and I'm going to paste this folder inside here. Now I have my files, so this is all the files that we need inside the cell. So walking through the PDF that we downloaded as well. We downloaded the robot, and now let's start moving into the parts. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in the blade assemblies, and it's the same CAD file, but we need 3 separate ones because we need to pick and place 3 separate items. Finish deck assembly, mower deck assembly, and then the mower EOT head, which will help us with the pick and place off of the tool rack. So let's download those and add those to our parts file, and you'll see that inside of our file, here are all the weights. We're not going to do anything with scales. We're not going to do anything with color. The mass is 3 kilograms. And we have our blade assembly is what we're going to download. Let's go inside here. We can either go up to Cell, Parts, or we can right click on Parts and Add Part. And we're going to go from Single CAD Library. And let's find our cell. And inside that cell, go into the folder in which we have our CAD files. Here's our finished blade assembly. Hit open. And you'll see our blade assembly. Again, we're not doing anything with the scale, and each one of these weighs 3 kilograms. So we're going to call this blade assembly number 1. And we're going to hit apply. And then let's do that 2 more times. So now we have 3 blade assemblies. So the next 3 is going to be the mower EOT head. Again, we are not worried about the mass of this. This is just helping us for setup and placement. Then we have the mower deck. This is 54 kilograms. And then the mower deck assembly, which is 60 kilograms, because that's with all the additional items, including some bolts and caulk. So let's add these 3 items to our robo guide. So we're going to right click, Parts, Add Part, Single CAD Library. And we are going to go Finish Deck Assembly. There's our finished deck assembly with all the parts. This was 60 kilograms. Hit OK. Add Part, Single CAD Library. And then we're going to have the actual mower deck. And this is going to be 51 kilograms. The last one we're going to do is the mower EOT head. So that's just the head by itself. By itself, again, we're not worried about the mass because we're only using this for setup and move to. Hit OK. So now we have our 6 different items all set up for our parts. So our parts now match the cell that you saw in the PDF. Okay, next, I do not want to see all these off to the side. So if you double click the actual rectangle or square, and this will pop up as the part rack. So we're going to uncheck visibility and we're going to hit OK. And that takes away the entire part rack. We don't need to see that. Let's start adding the end of arm tooling. Let's hit the plus next to the R2000 IC 165F robot, find tooling. And our first tool is going to be just the gripper head. So we're going to right click on it. We're going to go EOT1 properties. And the name of this, we're going to go no EOT. And here's the CAD file. We're going to find the CAD file that we need. So this is going to be the Mower EOT head by itself. And we're not going to do any of these items. The physical characteristics were usually right around 2-3 kilograms for the weight of this. It could be a little bit more for sure. We can just go 6 kilograms for this item. And when I hit apply, you should now see the EOT at the end. Let's go to U tool. And for the U tool, let's go edit tool, and we're going to go right down to the bottom, which is going to be 150 millimeters. And then we're going to also rotate it -180. So now our X and Y matches the triad for the world mode as well. There's going to be no parts or simulation for this, so we don't have to worry about that. So now we have our head by itself. So let's go to U tool number 2 and let's go properties. And let's call this one EOT suction. So let's go to general. Let's find the CAD file and it'll bring us right to here. So we're going to go EOT and suction head, Mower EOT, suction head. And when I hit apply, you should be able to see our item. Let's go to U tool and edit U tool. The U tool, Z is going to be 230. And we're also going to do that rotation of -180 degrees. And when we have down there, we have now our rotation to be correct. Now it's off to the side like that because of how the mower deck is built and the weight of the mower deck. So it's not going to be exactly in line with our triad. Let's move down to parts. This one will be picking up parts. So we are going to pick up the finish deck assembly and also the mower deck with this. So with the mower deck, when we hit apply, we should see this. Now we need to edit this, so click it again, edit part offset. 230 is good. We need the W to be 90 and then the R to be -90 to get it to where we want it to be. And when I hit apply, we're good with that one. Now let's do the exact same thing for the finish deck. So let's click the finish deck, edit part offset, and the exact same thing, 90 and -90. And because it's upside down, let's just rotate this 180 degrees. And then we're going to have to flip it so that it's not negative. And then it should match. So I went 230, 90, 180, 90. So just a positive 90 from what the other mower deck is. So this is the one that is finished. So as soon as we start adding the parts, this is what's going to get picked up and put onto the final conveyor belt. Then both of these should be defaulted as visible at runtime, so just double check that it is. For simulation, we should not see anything else inside here. It's just a static tool. So let's hit OK, and this EOT is now set up. Let's go to EOT number 3, EOT properties, and this is going to be our caulk gun. So let's go to general, CAD file, and we're going to go to EOT, Mower EOT caulk head, and then we're going to change the weight to say 4 or 5 kilograms for our weight of our EOT, and when I hit apply, you should see it now pop up. Next, let's go to the U tool, set up the U tool. Z is going to be 302.1. The Y is going to be 16.4, and then we're going to have a W -180 degrees rotation. So now we have our U tool at the end where the caulk should be at. so we can run along the lines. So we have our caulk gun. We do not have to do anything for parts. That's not picking up anything. It's just placing a bead of caulk, and also the simulation is not doing anything as well. So the caulk gun is now done. Let's now move on to the final one, which is the gripper. So U-tool number 4, right click on it, and we're going to go EOT for number 4 properties, general, and let's call it what it is, EOAT, gripper. CAD file. Let's grab the CAD file. Now there's 2 CAD files. There's one of open and closed. So make sure you grab the open first. There's nothing for the size. This is going to be a little bit lighter, so we'll say 3 kilograms for that. Size is all good. We don't have to do any rotations. Let's change the U-tool. Let's go to U-tool, edit to U-tool, and we're going to have a Z of 181.515. And then for our rotation, negative 180 degrees, and now we have our rotation correct. X, Y, and Z triad is all correct as well. Let's move to the parts. Inside the parts, we are going to pick up all 3 blade assemblies, making sure that we hit apply on that. So we have all 3. Visible at runtime is unchecked, and we're not going to do anything with the edit offsets. So let's make sure that all these blade assemblies are zeros. So go inside here, 0, 0, apply, and now it's the correct direction. Do the same thing for number 2, edit direction. Make sure that these are 0 all the way down, and you should be able to see it once you do that. So click assembly number 1 and go zeros all the way down. Blade assembly number 1, number 2, and number 3 should all be in the exact same place. All of them should say visible at runtime to be unchecked. And then we're going to go to simulation. And inside simulation, we are going to now switch this to a gripper style. So function, switch this to gripper, clamp, and then the actuated CAD file. We're going to go to closed EOT, open, hit apply, and now I can go open, closed, open, closed. So they're 2 different CAD files, one open, one closed. And everything's set up on the simulation part. So hit OK, and now all our toolings are now all correct. Next, let's start on the machines. So we're going to add a machine. So right click on machines, add machine. Let's go to the CAD library, and we're going to find the conveyor belt. So it won't be under machines. We actually have to go under fixtures. Then go to under conveyor, and it's going to be just the conveyor belt. Hit OK. And then let's change the location sizes. So X is going to be 700. Y is going to be negative 4,700. The Z is going to be 500. The W is 0. P is 0. And then R is 90. And when I hit apply on this, it should be in the correct area. Next, let's change the scale, and the Y scale needs to be 1.3 just to make it a little bit wider. And all these numbers should remain the same when we do that. Let's change the color of this to blue, and I'm going to hit apply. And now we have our piece in the correct area. We can lock all locations for this. And let's just rename it. So this is going to be our starting conveyor. We'll come back and add the actual machine parts that move after we get all the machines loaded. So let's add another machine. This one is going to be our end conveyor. So let's go to fixtures and find our conveyors. There's our CNVYR. Hit OK. And let's put in the correct sizes and the name. So we'll just go conveyor end, and we're going to go 2200, 2200, 730, 500, 0, 90, and we're going to go scale of 1.2 for the Y. And when I hit apply, it should be in the correct place. And then let's change the color to blue as well. And we'll lock locations and values. Okay. So now we have our second conveyor. Now we need to put in our parts rack. So let's add another machine. And this one I'm going to go to CAD file. And I'm going to find my tool rack. And we're going to put in the X of 550, Y of 1800, Z of 0, W 90, and everything else is good. Mass doesn't matter. And CAD color can work. Lock location values and hit OK. So now that we have our machine fixtures, now anything that needs to have moving parts needs to be a machine. So fixtures is just an item that is stagnant. If we want something to move down a conveyor belt, it needs to be a machine. If we want to have a tool show up or disappear, it needs to be a machine. So it has to be associated with a machine. We will add the links to these machines after we add the fixture parts. Now that we have our machines in, let's add our parts that will actually move on the machine. So let's go to Conveyor Start, right click on it, add link, and this is going to be a CAD file. And we are going to find the pallet. So here's our CAD file. We want to make sure that this is the X-axis when we rotate this. Let's call this pallet. Hit apply. For our general. So these are all going to be zeros. Okay, so this is not associated with the rotation of this. So don't get used to the general. So we actually have to go to the link CAD to modify the rotation of that. So let's go to link CAD. And then let's go down to the X is going to be 0. The Y is going to be 835. Z is going to be 0. Rotation on the W is going to be 90, 0, 0. And when I hit apply, now it should be the correct rotation. Let's add our link. So we're going to go to parts, and we're going to have blade assembly 1, 2, and 3, and then the mower deck. So let's do the assemblies first. So I'm going to go to blade assembly number 1, and these are going to be our numbers. So we're going negative 140, 290, 72.5, 90, 90, 0. When I hit apply, should be in that first correct part. Then let's go to assembly number 2. So assembly number 2, the X is going to be negative 280, Y is going to be 290, Z is going to be 72.5, and then we have 90, 90. And when we hit apply, should be in secondary place. Assembly number 3, edit rotation, negative 280, 290, 72.5, 90, 90, negative 440, and it's going to rotate there. So now let's go to apply, mower deck. Let's hit the edit offset, and the mower deck is going to be negative 616.95 is going to be our X, 120 is going to be our Y, and then we have 533.050 for the Z, and then we're going to have 180, 0, 0. And then it should be in the correct place. And we're going to hit apply. And these are going to be visible at runtime for all of these. And then all of these are going to be picked up. So let's go to simulation and make sure that all of these are going to be picked. So pick, 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 and we're going to hit apply. So all of them should be allowed to pick up, not to be placed. Hit OK. So now this assembly is correct. Now that we have the simulations done, which is allowed to be picked, let's go to motion. And inside motion, we're going to do a in and out control linear, and the speeds are going to be 500 going towards, and then it's going to warp back. So we're going to go the largest number we can. And then we're going to go to robot controller number 1. And these are going to be our I/O tags. So it's going to be digital output number 1 and digital output number 1. And one is going to be on, one is going to be off. So when it's on, it's going to be at the 1230. And then when it's off, it's going to be at 3800. So you can test where these locations are. There's the location. There's the location. Now what we need to do is add our inputs so that when it is in location, it will tell us when it's in location. So digital input number 1, digital input number 2, when it is at 1230, which makes sure it double matches here, it's going to turn digital input number 1 on. When it's at 3800, it's going to turn digital input number 2 on. Make sure these numbers match. If they don't, then nothing will ever get right. So we're going to hit apply, and now we have our motion. So now that this conveyor is good, let's move on to the next conveyor. So I'm going to go conveyor end, right click on it, and we're going to go add link, and we are going to go add CAD file. And this is going to be our last finished mower deck assembly. So finish mower deck assembly, open. So there's our mower deck assembly. Let's go to general. We want to make sure that this is the x-axis that is moving down. X-axis moving down. Let's call this deck or finished deck. Hit apply. So we have finished deck, x-axis. Then on the linked CAD, here's the file, and here's where we're going to change the location. So this is going to be 600, 340, 100, and 90, 00. Scale is going to be normal. Mass is going to be just fine. We're going to hit apply, and now it should be in the correct place. Now, because this is a actual movable part, it's not a linkable or droppable part, what we need to do is go to parts, and we're going to go finish deck assembly, hit apply, and then there's the finished deck assembly. It's there, but you just can't see it because it's overlaying the other part. So there's actually 2 decks here, even though it looks like just one. If I move it, you'll see both the decks there. So then we're going to go to simulation, and we're going to click finish deck, and we're going to be allowed to be placed. So uncheck the item there, hit apply. Then we're going to go to motion, and then we're going to add our device in and out. Linear motion, speed is good, and the speed is going to be 500 going the opposite way, and then we want it to warp into place. So we're going to go the max number. There's our max number. This is going to be digital output number 5. So I'm working off of the PDF right now. Digital 5, digital 5. One is going to be on, one is going to be off. So when it's at on, it's going to be at 2600. When it's off, it's going to be at 0. So let's go down here and let's add our robot controller. 1. And this is going to be digital input number 9. And then digital input number 10. When they both are in those places, we're going to have on and off. And our location's at 2600. Make sure these 2 match. Make sure these 2 match. We can go in there, we can test. So here's the test, all the way down at the end. Test here is 0. So we're all good for our conveyor belt number 2. Hit OK. Now our conveyor belt number 2, so the last item is going to be our tool rack. I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to go add link, CAD file. And the first one we're going to bring is the caulk gun. So we're going to go the caulk tool rack. So tool rack, caulk, open. And there's the caulk gun. Let's modify the placement of this. So let's go to general and make sure these match. So I'm going to change this to caulk. And this is going to be the y-axis. Hit apply. So we have y-axis, caulk. Then we're going to go to the linked CAD. Again, the file's already been loaded. Here's going to be the z-axis, which is going to be 65. And then it should move out to the correct position. Now, to allow us to easily align our head to this, we're going to go to parts. And this is why we brought in the Mower Head EOT as a part. So I'm going to hit apply on this. And then we're going to edit the part offset. And then we're going to change this to -400. 1500, 17, 170, 180, and then negative 180. So now we have the head here, which now we can go move to. So we can go in here, we can move to this placement here. And once we have that set up on our actual robot, go to simulation and Mower EOT. We're not going to pick up or place on this. So now that we have the simulation done, let's go to motion. So what's going to happen now is we're going to come in here, we're going to grab it, and it's going to warp below the ground. Okay, so it's going to make it look like it's not there anymore on the tool rack. And then as soon as we release it onto the tool rack, it's going to show up. Okay, so let's go to motion and let's go to device in and out, linear, speed is going to be as fast as we can. Warp in and warp out. So there's not going to be any motion pretty much there. So we're going to make this digital 2. One's going to be on, one's going to be off. Okay, so 0 means it's on. That means the tool is present. When it is off, it means it's going to be underground. So you can see right now it's underground and when it's off. So I'm going to do the ins and outs then. So this is going to be digital number 3. And this is going to be number 4. So when both of these are on, it will give us a signal saying that it is there. Okay, so the last thing we want to do is let's bring it up to the top here. So test. There we go. We're going to hit apply. So it's test, and you also see the head. So let's go back to where it says parts, and where it says Mower Head here, we're going to turn off the visibility for both the teach and also the runtime. Hit apply. So we don't see the head, but we can still move to it. Okay. So once we have that, we're going to add another link, and we are going to go to CAD file, and we're going to add the next CAD file, which is the tool rack suction. There's our tool rack suction. Let's go to general. Make sure the general is all good. So it's going to be the name suction. And then we're going to go down the y-axis as well. Go to link CAD, and here's where we're going to change the offsets. And Z is going to be 50, and it'll be in the proper place then. Everything else should be good. Next, let's go to parts, and same thing as before. Let's add the mower head, make it easier so we can actually move to it. Hit apply, click it again, edit the offset, and let's change these numbers. So this is going to be 1500. Z is going to be 185. The W is going to be 180. The P is going to be 0, and then the R is going to be negative 180. So it's in the proper place and all correct. Then we're going to turn the visibility off for these. Hit apply. Simulation, we're going to click the mower head, and this is not going to be picked or placed. It's just meant for grabbing the correct position with our end of arm tooling. It's just easier to do it that way. So now that we have all those correct, let's add the motion. And it's the same exact motion. And this is going to be our digital 3. One's going to be on, one's going to be off. The off is going to be below the ground, which is negative 1800. And let's do the same thing for the digital inputs. So 3 means that we're going to be using digital input number 5. And digital input number 6. When both of these are on, it's going to send a signal over through our digital inputs 5 and 6. Hit apply, now we're good. So one is going to be below the ground, one is going to be above the ground. So when we test, should be below above. When we test, should be below. Hit OK. And the last one is going to be our gripper. So tool rack, right click, add link, CAD file. And we're going to go tool rack gripper. Open. Let's go to General, and let's name it Gripper. And this is going to be our y-axis. Hit Apply. Link CAD. And let's change our z-axis offset to 50. And now it's in the proper place. And everything is good on that point. Then let's go to Parts, Mower EOT. Hit Apply. Click on it again. Edit Offsets. And let's change the numbers again. 400, 1500, 185, -180, 0, and 180. There we go. And we have in the correct position. Turn off the visibility. Hit Apply. Simulation. Mower. Uncheck the pick and place. Hit Apply. Motion. Move to the in and outs. Linear. And top speed as fast as we can. And this is going to be digital output number 4. Since we're using number 4, that means we're going to be using input number 7 and 8. One is going to be on, one is going to be off. And this is going to be our -1800. And this is going to be our -1800. So -1800, -1800, make sure both of them match. If they don't, you will have a headache later on. So now that all these are good, we are now good and set up with our machines. So the last thing we're going to do with the machines here, let's add the EOT to the top here for our head. So we need to add the part to this single ed EOT. So let's double click U tool number 1. And let's go to Parts, and let's go to Mower Head, hit Apply, and we're going to have to do some rotations on this. So let's click the part and then Edit, and let's change this from 180 to 0, and then change the Z offset to 0 as well. And then you'll see that it matches this exactly. So let's turn off this visibility at teach time as well as the visibility at runtime. So hit Apply. So now what that allows us to do is we can actually go to these positions here. So we can actually go to this position. So I can click my end here, and I can go up to Test and move it up to the top here. Then if I go to Parts and I go, notice how we have our robot arm now. Because we have that set up, I can go Move To, and there we go. Exact placement. So that's why we added that end of arm tooling as a part as well, so that we can easily move to each one of these positions without trying to figure out where the actual position is in X, Y, and Z location. Next, let's add the obstacles around this. So it's going to be the fences and everything else. I'm going to right click on Obstacles, add CAD library. And the first obstacle is going to be our operation panel. So we're going to go to Operators, Operation Panel number 1. And let's change the sizes here. So the X is going to be 1200. The Y is going to be -2350. Z is going to be 0. And we're going to be 0, 0, 0. For the placement. And let's do a rotation of 90 on the R. So we have our location of our panel now. So we can do a lock location now. Hit OK. So we have that now in place. Let's right click, add obstacle, CAD library. And we're going to go to controllers. And we're going to go down to RG3B. And this is going to be 1600, -3500, 0, 0, 0, and -180 degrees. And it should be right next to our library here. We're going to lock that value, hit OK. And then we're going to start adding the fences around. So we're going to add another obstacle, CAD library. And we're going to go to fence, and this one's going to be the W100. So here's the W100. Hit OK. And location is going to be 2420, 2100, 0, 0, 0, and 180 degrees. No scale factors. Lock location, hit OK. So it's a tiny little area right here. Let's add the next fence. Add obstacle, CAD file. And this is going to be the 1000. And the sizes is 2430, negative 1900, 0, 0, 0, 90. And when we hit apply, it'll be right here, and then we have to change the scale factor on the X direction of 3.83. And then it'll go all the way across. Lock that location values, hit OK. Let's add our next fence. Add obstacle and CAD library. And let's go to the fences. And the next fence is the 500. Put in the sizes, 800, negative 1900, 0, 0, 0, 0, all the way down. Make sure that the Z is 0 as well. Scale factor should be 3. In the X direction. Lock location, hit OK. Now let's add the back area. So let's add the last 3 fences. So this is going to be the 1000 fence. And it's going to be 1300, 2100, 0, 0, 0, negative 180. And then scale of 2.7. Back one. Lock location. 2 more fences. This one's going to be the 1000. And size is going to be negative 1556, negative 1900, 0, 0, 0, 0, 90, and when I hit apply, should be in the correct location, and then the X direction is 3.83. Goes all the way across. Lock location, hit OK. Last fence. And this one is going to be the 500. X location, negative 1600, negative 1900, 0, 0, 0, zeros all the way down. And then the X direction scale is going to be 2.4. Should be perfect on this side. Lock location, hit OK. So now we have our obstacles. We need one last thing on the end, which is going to be just a black box to hide our end where our finished palette goes into. So we're going to go to obstacles, right click, add obstacle, and we're going to just do a simple box. And the box dimensions are going to be location 1790, 4292, 1500. Okay, and then the size of this is going to be 1300, 2000, and then 1500. And when I hit apply, should be at the end. The correct size. Let's change the color to black. And we're going to lock location. Hit OK. So that is where our finished mower deck goes into. So that's going to be obstacle number 1. All right, so the last thing we're going to do is going to add the fixture. So let's go to Fixtures, right click, and we're going to add fixture, single CAD library, and we're going to do the mower fixture. So the mower deck jig, open. And here are going to be the sizes. We're going to have 1800, 0, 900, negative 90, 0, and 90. Hit apply. And now we have our mower jig here. We're going to lock that location, hit apply. Then we're going to go to parts, and here are going to be the parts we need. We need the blade assembly number 1, blade assembly number 2, blade assembly number 3, finish mower deck, and then the mower deck. So all of the items except the mower EOT head. So let's go apply. Then let's go to blade assembly number 1, edit part, and it's going to be 0, -240, 0, -90, and 90. So you should see it move kind of in this correct place here. Hit apply. Then let's go to the blade assembly number 2, edit part, and this is going to be 387.692, -240, 161.538, and -90, and then 90. Hit apply. Then we're going to blade assembly number 3, edit part offset, and this is going to be -387.692, -240, 161.538, -90, 90, and 0. Hit apply. Finish mower deck is going to be 0, -10, 0, 180. Correct place. And we're going to turn the visibility off on both of these. Hit apply. Mower deck, edit. This is going to be 0, -10, 0, 0, 0. So now you should see all the items in the correct place. Hit apply. Now we need to make sure that all the visibilities are correct. So let's go to blade assembly number 1. We should only see this during teach time, not run time. Hit apply. Same thing with assembly number 2, not during run time. Assembly number 3, not during run time. The finish mower deck should be both turned off. And then the mower deck should be visibility at runtime as well. Checked. Hit apply. Then let's go over to simulation and blade assembly number 1. We're going to uncheck parts being picked, allow it to be picked, and then we're going to put 32.42. And I'll show you how to get this number when we actually start programming. So right now, just put in the number that you see here. So blower number assembly number 2, 23.3. Assembly number 3, uncheck that. And we're going to go 14.02. Finish mower deck is going to be allowed to be picked. And it's going to be after 129. And then our first mower deck is going to be unchecked, allowed to be picked. It's going to be placed, and it's going to disappear after 97.13 seconds. Hit apply. And again, I'll show you how to get this number when we start programming. So right now we're just setting the cell up. So we got the general, parts, and simulation all good. Hit OK. And now we have the entire cell set up. So the next video we'll start programming.